The City of Spokane worked with the Washington Department of Ecology's Brownfields program to clean up and redevelop areas of Riverfront Park. Together, we revamped iconic park attractions and added exciting new features, all while improving the environmental health of this gem on the Spokane River.
We are at Riverfront Park, downtown Spokane, the crown jewel of downtown Spokane, the Spokane River right here, and the site of the 1974 World's Fair, which was the first environmentally themed World's Fair. In the case of the park, this area was a rail yard from early days of the City of Spokane. So it had a strong industrial use. As time went on, there became more industrial manufacturers on the island, which is just to the right of us here. Cleaners, automotive repair, automotive parts, light industrial activities, along with the rail history. So the park was contaminated with metals and some historic fuels, petroleum and things like that from the rail history. Like most old cities, Spokane also had a fire in the late 1800s. So a lot of that fire debris was pushed into the park area. So we had polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, PAHs, that were present from that as well.
There's a lot of history in this site. There's a lot of stories underneath the ground here in Riverfront Park. And we wanted to make sure that we did it right.
The cleanup began in about 2018. There was an incentive from the city to basically renovate this park. This park was built in 1974, really hadn't been touched since the World's Fair. So there was a lot of outdated features. When that effort was initiated with a bond referendum that the City of Spokane voters passed, they came to Ecology and entered our voluntary cleanup program so that we could help clean up the park while they renovated it.
So we saw a lot of impacted, contaminated soils. And having that partnership with the EPA and then also the Department of Ecology, we were able to not only think of creative solutions, but also solutions that helped us fiscally be responsible with the resources that the citizens gave us. So then we could put those into capital investments like you see behind me, rather than address what's underneath the ground.
The partnership leveraged public and private funds to increase the park's diversity and accessibility, making it Spokane's #1 gathering space for residents and visitors alike.
As a voluntary cleanup program participant, Ecology has an oversight role to ensure that the actions that the liable party or the voluntary cleanup program client does are in compliance with our state laws. So the cleanup was phased as they moved through different areas of the park for their renovations. They would go into an area, sample soils. If they had any contamination, then they would either stockpile those soils for on-site containment, or they would take them to the landfill.
New features include the podium, a competition sports facility, and the Playscape, which offers more than 20 all-inclusive play pieces for a range of physical and social needs.
So behind us is the ice ribbon area. It was the first area that they cleaned up in the park. So they took samples of the area before they started digging. And then as they did their development, they stockpiled contaminated soils and either took them to the landfill or they placed them on site in an area that would be capped for future use.
And so what you see in the U.S. Pavilion today is almost approximately 30,000 cubic yards of impacted soils that we were able to work with Department of Ecology to reuse, cap in a safe way, and put that towards the actual improvements that saved us over $500,000 just for that one example.
So behind us is the pavilion area. This was the area that was used to stockpile a lot of the contaminated soil that was uncovered here at the park. So you can see there's a series of terraced benches that were installed. So the contaminated soil basically comprises those benches. It's got clean soil and a protective barrier over the top. And now it's a wonderful place for families to come, concerts, and we have markets and art events and all sorts of community events. So the carousel is a feature of the original park. I believe it's from 1904. It's a historic roof carousel. And so it had to be completely dismantled, taken apart, put in storage, and this area behind me was cleaned up. So they installed native plants in an area here that can accommodate flooding, higher water level when it occurs. and built this entire new facility to house the carousel. It's much more protected from the environment, and now it should last for another 100 years.
So that creative solutions working together, I think a lot of times, when you're dealing with a project like this, you think of a Department of Ecology or EPA as just the regulatory agency, that's telling you what you have to do and when you have to do it. In this case, it was communication, collaboration, thinking in some cases outside the box, and finding those solutions. And that's why I think we have an award-winning park here in Spokane, because we work together.
It really is the central hub for this community to gather. It also has a strong Native American history. This was the place where historic peoples, the Spokane Indian tribe, gathered. They collect fish here. We have wonderful waterfalls. And so it has a strong cultural history, and we wanted to preserve that too. It's a gathering space for this community, and so to have it be updated and to provide environmental protection to this community is, I think, a great asset.
Ecology's Brownfields program works with local governments, nonprofits, tribes, and community stakeholders across the state. We help them clean up and redevelop abandoned or underused properties that may have environmental contamination. We partner with the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency and the Washington Department of Commerce to provide information, funding resources, technical assistance, and outreach.